the opening line says, "There's no such thing as a self-made man." That's the opening thoughts there, and there's a lot of truth in that. That there's always somebody that has encouraged us in one way or another to succeed, and sometimes, by the way, sometimes that encouragement comes through discouragement. In other words, people can try to discourage us, and it only increases our resolve to succeed. I think about Roland Martin. You know, one of the world's greatest and most famous fishermen, and he wanted to fish for a living, and his parents told him he'd never make it, and he made millions and millions of dollars fishing. He was a great fisherman. And then he was so good, he got his own TV shows, and they put his name on all kinds of baits. The tragedy was that both of his parents died before he ever hit, hit it big. But he used the negative to be a positive. And we can, of course, athletes do that a lot. They take what we call bulletin board material, and they use that as encouragement. So at some point, in some way, somebody has provoked us to succeed, and so there's the sense in which none of us truly do everything on our own. And obviously, I think it'd be wise for us to mention at this point that none of us do anything without God. In Him we live and move and have our very being. Acts chapter 17. And so we always want to be mindful of the blessings of God as we think about these things. Now, in the lesson itself, it says that words of encouragement are important, but by themselves they are never enough to satisfy the needs of discouraged and hurting people. Now, I would have probably said rarely, because sometimes that's really all people need is a word of encouragement. I can think about many times when I got just a single word or statement of encouragement, just some sincere statement from someone, and it made all the difference in the world. But I think the point that he's trying to make is that words oftentimes are not sufficient. They can be helpful, but they're not all sufficient to meet the needs of those that are discouraged or hurting. Now, I'd never considered these passages kind of by thinking the way that he's presenting them. But he talks about James 2 in verse 15, a text that we're all familiar with. It says, "If a brother or sister is naked or destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Depart in peace, be warmed and filled,' but you do not give them the things which are needful for the body, what does it profit? For thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." And I never really thought about it in that way. And in my mind, I've always taken, and I'd say at this point, given the way that it's being presented, I've always kind of taken the wrong view of it. I've always thought of James 2 in the sense of people just saying things because they didn't want to do them. Now in other words, you don't want to do, but you at least have enough gumption to say. And I really don't think that's right. I think that Brother Johnson's take on this verse is proper, and that is that it is that James 2:15 to 17 is a sincere well wish, but it fails to take into account the need, and truly does not meet the need of that individual. So I think he's got it right, and I think I've looked at it wrong, and probably because when I hear people do things like this, it's usually people that are too lazy to do anything. They don't want to do anything, so they say something instead. And so I think my view of it has been kind of tarnished by my experience. But I think what Johnson, I think the way he presents it is right. I think it's talking about people that are sincere, but they just don't go far. They just don't go far enough. Then you have in 1 John 3, it says, "By this we know love, because He," that's Christ, "laid down His life for us, and we also ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him?" Now that's the way I've always interpreted James 2. I think John's looking at it from the perspective that I have what this person needs, but I refuse to give it. It's not that I'm negligent, or not that I don't see that I can. He says this person shuts up their heart, and so there's both sides of it. In James 2, I think it's well wishes, well intentioned, but in 1 John 3, I think the text is clear. He shuts up his heart. And so he says, how does the love of God abide in him? He says, "My little children, let us not love in word or tongue, but in deed and in truth." Now, when he says, "Let us not love in word or tongue, but in deed and truth," he's not saying excluding in tongue. He means not only in word, in tongue, but also in deed and truth. And so I think we have both sides of it. We have both sides of it presented to us in that case. There are other verses that I could use and that I thought about, and what I did was I resisted the urge to add those verses on the front end. I said, no, I'm going to read the whole lesson first and see if there's another place. And so there'll be some other verses that are akin to these, but I think they really help us understand some of the things that we find, for example, beginning on page 96. The benefits of encouraging deeds. The benefits of encouraging deeds. And the opening line is, Jesus taught his followers, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Jesus taught his followers that. Now tell me something. Where's that verse found? It's right there in the book. Acts 20:35. All right, now, when Paul made the statement in Acts 20:35, when he made that statement, where was Jesus? He done back in heaven. Long time. Long time. Now, can anybody find me where Jesus said that in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Can you find where Jesus said that? Did Jesus ever say it is more blessed to give than to receive, as recorded during his public ministry? Nope, not recorded. Not recorded. Jesus never said it as recorded in the four accounts of his life. But Paul said to the Ephesians, by the way, how far away was where Jesus lived from Ephesus? Long way, right? I mean, it was a long way from Jerusalem to Ephesus. Jesus never touched top side or bottom of Ephesus, right? And yet, Paul said to the Ephesians, and you well know the words of our Lord, who said it is more blessed to give than to receive. That's why I love this statement. Nobody ever saw fit to record it. And yet, it was so well known and said so many times that 20 years later, people hundreds of miles away who had access to the gospel accounts still never read it. But it was so well known, everybody knew it. That's what I love about the statement. The statement itself is absolutely true, and we understand it, right? It's more blessed to give than to receive. But when I think about the context in which Paul said it, and where he said it, and the timing, it just makes it that much more powerful. That Jesus said this so much that everybody knew that he said it. Everybody knew. It is more blessed to give than to receive. And so then he goes, so what are some of the blessings of giving? What are some of these blessings? And he's talking about the encouragement of deeds. The encouragement of deeds. For example, the first, friendships. People establish friendships through doing good deeds. Without giving any specific examples, I can tell you that I have a number of good friends in this community. I mean by Hamilton, in our community. I have a number of good friends in our community who would probably not be much more than acquaintances were it not for the deeds of the church. In other words, I know people that this church or the Hamilton church or some church helped. And because I'm associated with this church or in some way with the Hamilton church or the Barn Creek church or the White House church, because I'm associated with them, friendships have been established. Now, there are probably some of you who, and I'm just saying this because I've benefited from the deeds of others. I suspect that maybe there may be somebody here who's benefited, perhaps because of something somebody else did, that's a member of this church. Would that be fair to say? That somebody in this congregation did something for someone, and because you are associated with that person, somehow you've been blessed. And it may just be something that seems insignificant. Like somebody might, like Big Boy. It might be like somebody Big Boy. Cut them a deal on working on their car. Cut them a deal on buying or selling this or that. Help them out of their own pocket or help them with their own time. But they're actually the beneficiary of somebody else's good deed. And then you establish this relationship, this friendship, either through your actions or the actions of others. And so when you think about this, as we think about these deeds, remember that what you do will bless your brethren. I mean, how much has house to house, heart to heart blessed us as a congregation? With just the image of the congregation. How many people have heard something over the last, because we've been mailing house to house for about 20 years now. I mean, literally 20 years. How many of you have heard something good said about the Burleson Church because of house to house? So, these are good deeds. These are good deeds that are done, and we are. The fruit basket campaign. Man, how did I miss that one? It's coming right up here in about 7 weeks. Man, the fruit basket campaign is a great example of that. Even in this year we carried a nursing home. Of course, we've been going through the community action office for years now, and so man, when people associate you with good things like that, you're blessed. And so these things create friendships and blessings. The third line down, steady deposits of love pay dividends more valuable than any financial institution can boast. So you think about the return on investment. So friendships are a great blessing of doing encouraging deeds. I would have never guessed this one in a million years. Adventure, the blessing of adventure. Another blessing enjoyed by givers is excitement and fun. That each day becomes and adventure, as encouragers, look for creative ways to bring smiles to their family and friends. In other words, the word adventure doesn't mean that you went parasailing or you zip lined across the Grand Canyon or something. But when you look at every little opportunity as an adventure to do good. In other words, an adventure is basically something you've not done before, right? And so every day as an adventure to do good, I'm gonna find a way to do good today. Whatever it takes, I'm gonna find a way to encourage somebody today, someone new. And so I would have never. By the way, sometimes trying to help people can be an adventure. I know this doesn't count, but I've got Furman out of a bunch of messes. That's all. Those have been adventures. I mean, call me and say, my truck's stuck in the deer field. Can you come? And he's fought so. It takes a tractor to get it out. It takes me 20 minutes to go get my tractor and drive to where he is. Me and Furman's had some adventures. All right, so I know that doesn't count because we're brethren, but and it wasn't because he was in. I should have just left him, let him walk home. But adventures of doing good deeds, and then I think this one's it's a no-brainer. But I love the passages that are there. That kindness benefits the bearer by activating the biblical law of reciprocity. In other words, when we do good to others, we can expect good things to happen to us. Whether it be from the person that we are helping, or again, somebody else that saw what was done. Jesus said, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you. Of course, the picture here is that what is given back to you is not a bag of chips. It's not a bag of chips. Go to Walmart, pick you up a bag of Lay's potato chips that's about this tall, and open it, and see if you don't have to have something to grab to get to the bottom of it to find the chips. Right? Cereal, same one. I don't even know if they still put this on the packages, but when I was a kid they used to. Some settling of contents may have occurred. Right? Some settling. So what it boils down to is that bag was full. When they just dropped the chips in, but by the time that thing got shaken down the assembly line and put in a box and put in a truck and carried across the country and stacked on stacked on the shelf at Walmart, it still got the same number of chips in it when it looked full. There's only one chip you can buy where that don't matter. Right? Pringles, that's right. Pringles don't settle during transit. When you buy Pringles, you're gonna get a can full of chips. All right. But Jesus says the blessings you get back are not a bag of chips. And look at the verse. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and still running over. Still running over. And so I love the picture that Jesus shows here. How about this? But this I say, he who sows sparingly will reap also sparingly. He who sows bountifully shall reap or also reap bountifully. Now, in the context, Paul is talking about our giving to the work of the church. I mean, there's no question. That's chapters 8 and 9. And this is dead in the middle of chapter 9. He's talking about our giving. That our giving, if we give stingy, we'll get back stingy. We give generously, we'll get back generously. By the way, for all y'all, and I know y'all know this, but for anybody watching, that is not prosperity gospel preaching. There are prosperity gospel preachers. They said the Lord wants you to be healthy and wealthy. Right? That's all the Lord wants you. Joel Osteen, your best life now. Wrong. My best life is still somewhere in my future, right? And no matter how good it gets here, I still got a better one, right? My best life ain't now. And God is not concerned about whether or not I have a lot of money, right? But that's what they preach. That's what's called the prosperity gospel. This is not the prosperity gospel. This is the law of sowing and reaping, which we all know is God's natural law. The next verse from Galatians 6, he who sows to the flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. In other words, you sow bad seed, you're going to get bad harvest. He who sows to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life. You sow good things happen. You sow bad things happen. The prophet said it like this: they've sown to the wind and they've reaped the whirlwind. All right? And so this is not prosperity gospel preaching. This is sowing and reaping. The guys when I worked at co-op, the guys at the co-op used to laugh at me all the time because we didn't have a big house, 1,200 feet, set on maybe a third of an acre. It was a little old lot, but I wanted grass on my lawn. And if it called for 2 pounds an acre, which I didn't even have an acre, probably 2 pounds would have sowed my whole yard. You know how many pounds my yard got? About 10. About 10. And so, now, that works well sowing grass. It doesn't work so well putting out fertilizer. If it calls for a pound of ammonium nitrate, you better not put 5 pounds on it. And not because you'll be mowing your grass every other day, because you'll burn it up. But the law of sowing and reaping is accurate. And that's what the book and that's what the Bible is talking about. You dedicate your life to being an encouragement to others, and you will find that your life will be filled with encouragement. When we seek to encourage others, others will seek to encourage us. Now I got a little old ink pen and a pad today from Country Place. They gave me a gift for coming down there and teaching. And I probably don't own but 200-300 ink pens. Probably got 15 notepads. But you know what? I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that pen and I'm going to use that notepad. Because every time I pick that pen up or that notepad, it's going to remind me of those people that I love at Country Place. And really, they've turned around and blessed me because they say, well, you blessed us, we're going to bless you. And then when they blessed me, I think I got more than they did. Well, no, I didn't. So the law of sowing and reaping, and of course he uses the term here, the law of sowing and reaping is unbreakable. It's unbreakable. I'll tell you something that happened today. Made me laugh and nearly made me cry at the same time. Because of HIPAA laws and everything else, and this is live, I'm not going to tell you who it was. But I was at the nursing home today. Of course, today's Bible class today, and I was teaching Bible class at the nursing home. And there's a lady that asked me 1,000,000 questions when I'm there. Actually, she asked me 5 questions about 1,000,000 times. All right, so we had our Bible class and got ready, and I hugged everybody, and I was walking out of the activity room, and I made it about 3 steps down that little old short hallway, and I heard that woman say, "I miss him already." I was just glad that she remembered I was there. But that was so sweet. That really made my day. That really made my day. I miss him. I'd been 3 steps out the door. I miss him already. And she probably won't even remember that I was there when I go back tomorrow. But it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me today. And so the law of sowing and reaping is unbreakable. Page 97. The law of sowing and reaping, or the law of encouragement or the rule of encouragement is contagious. It's contagious. Pay it, nowadays they talk about pay it forward. Pay it forward. Oh, has anybody here been the beneficiary of a pay it forward in a drive-through line? I mean, I know I have. You know what I'm talking about? Nelma, you know what I'm talking about? Nobody's ever helped you out? You don't go through the drive-through. You go inside. I've been the beneficiary of a pay it forward, and I've been a person who's paid it forward. It all evens out. But my favorite my favorite pay it forward story of all time is when I was in college, and the tractor show, the ag show, was at the Cook Convention Center in Memphis, and all of the ag students, we went on a trip that day to Memphis. And I rode with one of my professors and his son, who was a friend of mine, and then my roommate was with us, and he and I both Alabama fans. Well, my professor was a UT grad, University of Tennessee grad, and so his son's a big UT guy. So we're sitting here in line, and we're trying to turn into the parking lot, and it's crowded. I mean, it's crowded, and it's just about our time to turn in, and the truck right in front of him cut him off and got in front of him to go in the parking garage. Had Alabama plates on it. Had Alabama plates on it. Now, didn't have University of Alabama plates on it, just had Alabama plates on it. Man, he let me and Bruce have it, and I mean in a good way. He let us, you sorry Alabama guy, said, you cut me off and all. It cost I think it cost $10 to park and all of that. So, man, he's still giving us down the road. Pulls up to the window. The lady says, that guy in front paid for you. Guess who got it then? He who laughs last, laughs loudest. But that was my favorite all-time pay it forward. Is Dr. Anderson was giving that guy down the road, and that guy did something good. So it's contagious. It makes you want to do good for others. Last one down here on the bottom, page 97, is contentment. If I am always looking to try to encourage others, it will always remind me how good I got it. You ever thought about that? If I'm always trying to find a way to encourage somebody else, it always reminds me how good I really had it. This week on Monday, I didn't go back up on Tuesday, but this week, Dale Jenkins and his brother Jeff have a thing that's called a Better Conference. It's just a little 2-day thing. It's Monday afternoon and Monday evening and Tuesday morning. And they've had them in Florence, and they've had them in Oklahoma City and in Texas, and just a little thing. And they bring in guys to help preachers. Give you ideas about how to be a better. It's for preachers, and it's about being a better preacher. And I saw Jeff early on, and I love Jeff. I love Jeff and Dale both. But I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Jeff's wife died this year. He's just a little old. He's just a little older than I am. He's in his 50s. But his wife died of cancer this year. And the first thing I thought, when I saw Jeff, thank God I still got Rhonda. First thing I thought. In other words, I wouldn't trade places with Jeff for there ain't no amount of money in the world made me trade places with Jeff. And yet, what's Jeff doing? Hosting a Better Conference, finding people to come in and help people be better preachers. Encouraging preachers through what he does and what he says. And when I see somebody that operates like that, it's contagious. It's contagious. And so, if I'm always looking for a way or a means to encourage somebody else, it's always going to remind me of how good that I really have it. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to stop right there and we'll finish this lesson. I don't want to get into the privilege part this week because we're about a quarter after. So let's pick up today's the 30th, so that'll be the 6th.